The Snowman by Wallace Stevens. One must have a mind of winter to regard the frost on the boughs of the pine trees crusted with snow, and have been cold a long time to behold the junipers shagged with ice, the spruces rough in the distant glitter of the January sun, and not to think of any misery in the sound of the wind, in the sound of a few leaves, which is the sound of the land, full of the same wind that is blowing in the same bare place. For the listener who listens in the snow, and nothing himself, beholds nothing that is not there, and the nothing that is.
In his poem, The Snowman, Wallace Stevens uses metaphors, imagery, and structure to show that physical reality consists largely of nothing, and the world is only full of emotions and perceptions because humans make it so. Wallace Stevens was one of the most respected American poets in the 20th century. He attended Harvard University to study his literary pursuits and wrote poems there for the local newspaper. However, he later went to law school and spent most of his life working for an insurance company, as well as expressing his ideas through his poetry. His works, which were largely about human imagination and the interaction with reality, were not largely recognized until late in his life. The Snowman is an example of this because it is a short poem where Stephen explores deep concepts of human perception. The Snowman is a 5-stanza poem with each stanza containing 3 lines in a tercet form. It is free verse with no rhyming scheme, although there are some rhymes within the poem. The poem is like a single sentence, as it is a single idea, starting from the first word to the last. The lines vary in length, with some being as short as 4 words, and the last line as the longest with 10 words. Enjambment brings a continuous flow to the poem that keeps the reader constantly engaged and thinking. The lines are short but are meaningful and reveal one detail at a time to the reader so that they are not overwhelmed. Stephen starts The Snowman with the characteristics that one must have to truly see and understand the winter landscape. He uses the metaphor of a snowman throughout the poem as a man with a mind of winter, which is in turn a metaphor for one who is so cold that they do not project external perceptions and emotions onto the surroundings. He also puts in quotes regarding the frost and the boughs of the pine trees crusted with snow to evoke emotions in the reader, even though they are supposed to have a mind of winter. The second stanza continues to use vivid imagery to convey examples of the surroundings, such as to behold the junipers shagged with ice and the spruces rough in the distant glitter, to show how one can convey a sense of beauty into this desolate landscape. However, we see a shift of tone in the third stanza when the speaker openly acknowledges the implied misery in the sound of the wind. This is interesting because we see that the speaker apparently understands that humans will project emotions into inanimate things and acknowledges it directly. Furthermore, in the fourth stanza, the speaker states how this implied misery is really just the sound of the land, full of the same wind that is blowing in the same bare place. We see that any emotion that might have surrounded the wind is in reality imagined. There is no misery in the sound of the wind, just as there was no beauty in the pine trees crusted with snow. The fifth stanza concludes The Snowman with Stephen's final but powerful statement, "Nothing that is not there, and the nothing that is." This is simply stating that the listener in the snow, who we can presume is a snowman as he has been cold for so long that he does not feel like a regular human, truly understands and sees that there is nothing in the landscape that is not there, such as emotions and feelings, and in reality, there really is, well, nothing there. This shows that a true and unfeeling cold snowman will be able to tell reality for what it is. There are no external emotions, beauty, or misery. All of these are human feelings, and when one gets past that, the world truly is just nothing. This last sentence brings a thought-provoking and long-lasting finish to the poem and gives us a simple statement that reflects on the true theme of the poem. Throughout his poem, Stevens uses a variety of literary devices to help convey his theme. One example are metaphors, which were present in the analysis of the stanzas. As previously noted, Snowman is a metaphor for a man with a mind of winter. And winter, the setting, represents the blank slate of nature, similar to how the mind should be when observing the landscape. It matches the attitude the listener should take on, which is cold, objective, and unfeeling. In addition, we see Stevens employ imagery in both stanzas 1 and 2, where he gives the reader a better sense of the winter landscape with vivid words and details. Images are used to describe the surroundings, such as wind, trees, snow, and more. They bring emotions to the desolate landscape and evoke a sense of beauty brought by the glistening snow and misery brought by the whistling wind. However, we see that these emotions are only imagined by the reader and are not actually there in reality, further emphasizing the main theme. In addition, personification and understatement, although not in our main literary devices, are also an important part of the poem. We see that misery in the wind is an example of personification because there is not actually misery in the wind and humans only imagine it to be. This gives an example of how we project outside feelings onto the environment that are not really there, as the wind itself cannot be miserable. Furthermore, we see understatement in the part where one has to be cold for a long time. It can be reasonably assumed that to be as detached and unfeeling as the listener in the poem, one would have to be cold for basically forever until they really are not human anymore. They would have to lose all emotions and feelings, essential things that make humans human. Overall, The Snowman is a reflective poem that allows the reader to think deeply about reality and the view of their surroundings. Stevens employs meaningful metaphors, vivid imagery, and a flowing poem structure to convey that the emotions we project onto our surroundings are not actually there, and to view the world as it truly is, one would need to be as cold and unfeeling as a snowman.